Hey, what's up? It's Pensive Fox, and these are my thoughts. And if you haven't noticed, my fiance got me a webcam, so the quality should hopefully be 1,000 times better for video. The audio, I'm not so sure about. I know it's definitely probably better than what I have been using, and to give you guys a sort of idea, I've been using this iPad, right? Terrible iPad. It has barely any storage, which meant my videos couldn't be very long and very limited editing software. So for Christmas I wanted some better equipment to make better videos, and I got a webcam and I got a computer, so hopefully we shouldn't be having any more problems with any of that, and the only thing I should be focusing on is, well, the content. So I apologize for behind me. I know it looks like it's a mess, but I'm actually about to leave for Colorado. My fiance and I go every year to visit his family for the holidays, and we're leaving at 4 in the morning. So in about 16 hours or so, we're going to be leaving on a flight, and I decided I would make a video before we leave. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tabletop games, and that is Vampire the Masquerade. Currently, my group and I have been playing the V20 version. A new version just came out called V5, and they made some major updates and changes. So keep in mind, for this video, I am talking from experience, only being a player of the V20 version. So Vampire the Masquerade is a RPG mostly centered on storytelling. It's meant to focus on your character and their individual story. It's also can be classified as personal horror because a lot of people take it in that direction. In the game, you are a vampire, and vampires are not inherently good creatures. You have to feed on people to stay alive and to get stronger. And if you refuse to do that, you're going to only get weaker, probably starve and die, or go into a frenzy. There's a lot of different things. So when I say it's a storytelling game, I mean it's not centered on combat. Unlike D&D and Vampire, you're not going to be going dungeon delving every other session. You're going to be telling a cohesive story with the party you're with, and well, conveniently enough, the game master is actually also called the storyteller. So for this video, if you hear me say ST, I'm basically referring to the dungeon master or the GM. But one of the things I love most about the game is, unlike D&D, it is not centered on combat. It is purely storytelling. It's about really role-playing and getting into this character's mind. In most situations, you're going to want to use your political prowess, your manipulation, your charisma, or if you don't have any charisma, you'll just try and avoid the situations. But it's a very tactical game, especially a socially tactical one. And if you end up in a fight, you've probably done something wrong. The game, in my opinion, is best played with 4 or less people because then you'll get the most personally engrossing experience. Our group over the past 3 years has fluctuated. We've gone from 3 to 2 to 4, and now we're at 6 people, and it's the final season, and honestly, it's the best time to have 6 people on your side. As I said, we have been playing for 3 years, and we are on our 4th season?
Third.
Third. Yeah. We've split each...
About a season a year.
Yeah. We've split each year into seasons, essentially, where we will play Vampire for a few months, and that will be 1 season. So the first time we started playing, we played for about 4 months straight, and that was season 1. Then we took a really big break and we came back with season 2, and now we're on season 3. It is the final season. I am so excited, and currently we are on break from Vampire since everyone's off for the holidays. And when we come back, I believe we're coming back the 5th is when Jay and I's vacation will be over. That weekend we're probably going to play again, but there's not many sessions left, and I'm so excited. Actually, I've loved this game so much, and we've all poured so much story and heart into it that I will actually be recounting all the events in character on my YouTube channel. It will be a series I will start However, it's going to be a few weeks at least before I start that series because it's going to take a lot of work, because a lot has gone into our New Orleans vampire story and a lot has gone into every single person's character. Hang on, I need a tissue. So I'm going into this assuming that none of you have ever heard of the game, and I'm just going to be your first sort of source. So the game is a few decades old, as far as I can tell, and I know that there have been 2 video games that have been based off of it. There is a Vampire the Masquerade game that I believe is like a computer sort of version, and then there's a game that just recently came out in the past year called Vampire, and it is based off of the Masquerade, but it is not like tit for tat the rules and the clans and whatnot. So something really cool about this tabletop that I've never really seen done until I started playing was that there are different types of vampires. So you're not just all the same, all have the same powers, but there are actually 7 different recognized clans, and that's not even counting all the ones outside of that, which are insane because it can get really detailed and really crazy really fast. There's like 13 clans. The 7 clans I mentioned are recognized by the Camarilla, which is basically like a ruling body for vampires. But here's the thing, not every vampire follows the Camarilla's laws because they don't like the Camarilla. They don't like the Camarilla's laws. The Camarilla's whole thing is they want vampires to stay a secret. And they've put all these rules in place that if you break them, it can be very strict punishment depending on which one you break. Whereas there are these other sort of groups like the independents who just kind of work for themselves. They have their own goals that they want to accomplish, and if you are not helping them meet their goals, then you better just step aside because they'll run right over you. And then there are the anarchs who want a reformed Camarilla, and then there are the Sabbat who are literally the big bad. They are the direct antithesis of the Camarilla. They don't want to stay hidden. They believe vampires are the ruling majority. They believe vampires should enslave humans and do all sorts of other nasty, terrible things. So let's go ahead and talk about clans because that's fun. When we originally started playing, Jay's idea was we are Camarilla, so we have to choose from the 7 clans. That is not how every game will start. That is not how every storyteller will want it. It just depends on the game you're trying to run. So the game we are running is obviously a Camarilla game. So we are Camarilla vampires. Now, it being the 3rd season, not everyone's a Camarilla vampire anymore, and not everyone is actually a vampire. Because we've learned how to play the game, we've adapted it to our needs, and some people have branched out and wanted to play other characters. And I'm so sorry, I keep going off on tangents. So let's just roll back. If we're talking about Camarilla vampires, there are 7 clans recognized by the Camarilla. They are the Bruja, the Gangrel, the Malkavian, the Nosferatu, the Toreador, the Tremere, and the Ventru. And I'm going to do a quick, very brief overview of all of them. So the Bruja, they're like these strong soldiers. That's kind of their basis. If you want to play a tank, a Bruja would be a good choice. The Gangrel are very animalistic. They often have some sort of spirit animal. The Malkavians are psychotic, and like literally psychotic. They have a derangement. That is part of their clan weakness. Oh, that's another thing I love about vampires. So every clan has its sort of like weaknesses, and it's specialized to them. So Bruja's weakness is they have low self-control. A Gangrel's weakness is every time they frenzy, they take on an animalistic characteristic. So if they frenzy, then they grow claws, permanent claws. The Malkavians, they have a derangement. So they have a split personality, they're extremely depressed, they're manic, they're, all kinds of stuff to choose from. The Nosferatu are the traditionally ugly ones. They have a 0 appearance score, which means they're just, they're not cute. The Toreador are the traditional sort of charismatic, sometimes described as the most human of all the clans. They are the artists, the musicians. Their traditional weakness is that they are enthralled by things they find beautiful, and typically it's like one thing. So if they really like jazz music and they hear someone playing jazz really well, they'll basically get sort of tranced for a while by the music. The Tremere, their weakness is that they can be bloodbound with only 2 points of blood. So in the game you can bind ghouls and other characters through a blood bond. It requires 1 blood point per night for 3 nights straight. Once you get to that 3rd blood point, they basically are like extremely in love with you. So it's not necessarily a good thing. Very terrifying. It happened to my character in season 1, but luckily by the end of season 2 the problem was solved. It's just a very terrifying concept that someone can tell you to do anything and you do it without question. That's basically what the blood bond allows you to do. So the Tremere's weakness is that it only takes 2 nights for that to take effect. So they are highly susceptible to bonds. And the Ventru, which is what I play, that is my character's clan, the Ventru weakness, they are typically seen, the Tremere are like the witches and wizards or the sorcerers. They have magic traditionally. And the Ventru are one of the oldest clans. They are generally seen as cold-hearted and unempathetic, but that is definitely a stereotype. You can make your character however you want, and I'll go over that more in a second. The Ventru's weakness is that they have a specific taste of blood, and that is the only type of blood they can drink. So for my character Elizabeth, her taste was actually cancer patients. She had cancer before she died, and when she awoke, the only people she could drink were people who had cancer or who had been cured of cancer. Now that sounds very like, what? But it's very vague in the sense that you can choose something that your character thinks is a weakness, you can choose something that your character thinks is a strength, or something totally random that is kind of a shock to your character. And that was kind of what I was going for with the cancer thing. She thinks people who survived cancer are very strong and have been through a lot. She also saw it as a weakness in herself that she couldn't overcome it. And it was also something very random that wasn't true to her personality, but afterwards became something that was so significant to her death that it became her taste. It's very much up to you and how you want to, pun intended, flavor your character. So those are just 7 of the clans, and they're all vastly different, and even within their sort of stereotypes, you can make them however you want. With Elizabeth, I very much didn't want to go that traditional cold-hearted Ventru route. I wanted her to be actually very kind and human and empathetic. I wanted people to be shocked by her, and I wanted her to feel very real. And you can do that with any of the clans. Yes, the Nosferatu have a weakness for being ugly, but that doesn't mean that they can't be charismatic. You don't have to be pretty to have charisma. The same with the Bruja. They can have low self-control, but that doesn't mean your person has to be short-fused. They could have a lot of patience and only lose control during certain situations. So some of the other clans include, very traditionally, the Independents, which are the Ossamite, and that is a clan who is generally associated with assassins and not necessarily thieves, mostly just assassins. Then there are the Setites, who are the direct antithesis to the Tremere. Then there are the Giovanni, and the Giovanni are like the necromancers of the world. And the Ravnos, they're very good at illusions. Then the Sabbat, which is another sect, they include traditionally the Taimishi, which are these like monstrous, horrid creatures, and the Lasombra, which are like these shadowy sort of, if you mix like the Ossamite and the Nosferatu, but they're not, the Lasombra aren't ugly. Actually, more like if you mix the Ossamite and the Toreador. Basically what I'm saying is all of these clans are open to you to play, and that is just telling you all the different types of vampires. So in D&D, there are like 7 races you can play, if you're not counting the expansions. Like in traditional D&D, in just the player handbook, there's like 7 races. And then there are like some sub-races, but they're not too different. And then there's only like 7 classes, and the classes are pretty different, but there's not much variation within the class. Like some classes have subclasses, and then you have backgrounds. With this, you have 13 different types of vampire you could be, And then within that, you have your skill sheet, which actually, I'm gonna get a skill sheet real quick. This is my skill sheet for Elizabeth. It's blue, and this is just the first page of 4. So this is all the skills you're going to be rolling for. Generally, you have a max of 5. So as you can see, my strength is at 2. That's pretty much average strength. My dexterity is at 3. My stamina is at 3. Point in showing you that is that you choose your clan, so I chose Ventru, and then after that I get all of these points that I get to spend to put into these different skills. So for attributes, which is your physical, social, and mental stats, you will get an array of 5, 7, and 3, and you can put those points anywhere. So if you want to take the set of 5 points and put them in mental, and then take the set of 7 points and put them in physical, and it doesn't matter what clan you are, you can choose. In the beginning, we had a Toreador who was very strong and very physically capable, and he was also charismatically capable. He wasn't very academically smart, but he was very street smart. And that's not how people usually do Toreador. That's typically how you do like a Bruja or a Nosferatu. And with Elizabeth, I put more into her charisma than her mental stats, which is not something you would typically do with a Ventru, because Ventru are supposed to be these smart CEOs, these very tactically capable people. So she's not stupid, but she's also not the smartest person in the room. She's about average intelligence, but she is very charismatic. After attributes, you have abilities, which break those stats down even further. So for talents, your talents can be very physically, capable. So say your character is hand-to-hand combat a lot, then you can put more stats into brawl. But let's say you're very good at public speaking, you can put dots into expression. And then again, in the book, it'll give you an array for these different categories. And that's not even counting the disciplines you get. Each clan has their own set of disciplines, and disciplines are basically like their supernatural abilities to empower themselves. So for Ventru, the 3 disciplines you can choose from are Dominate, Presence, and Fortitude. So Dominate is a mental discipline very unique to Ventru, but also it's given to Tremere, and it allows you to basically command others by just having eye contact with them. So like the first dot is like a 1-word command. You look at someone, you say stop, and then they stop whatever they're doing. The second dot allows you to give more specific commands. The third dot allows you to make them forget things, and so on. It's very useful. Then, let's see, Presence is very much like a charismatic sort of ability. It basically allows you to persuade people around you by putting them in awe of your presence. And then Fortitude is more of a physical thing, but it basically allows you to soak more damage and soak different types of damage that other people can't soak. So in Vampire the Masquerade, if you do get into combat, it's important to note that their combat system is not the best. I'm going to be completely honest, it took us several tries to figure it out, and we actually had to get on Reddit a lot and ask questions, and even after all of that, we have tweaked some of the rules to fit our game standards. But essentially, every vampire has 7 health levels, so unlike D&D where you roll Constitution every time you level up, and you each get different points and HP, in Vampire, everyone has 7 health levels. No matter if you're 1-year-old, no matter if you're 1,000 years old, you have 7 health levels. If you take 7 levels of damage and you're not able to soak it, which is a vampire's natural ability to just absorb damage, then you're going to go into torpor. So Fortitude basically adds more dice to your soak pool, so if you get hit, you can roll more dice to see if you absorb the damage, and Fortitude also allows you to soak aggravated damage, but with only the amount of dots you have in Fortitude. So I only have 2 dots in Fortitude, so if I take aggravated damage, I can only roll 2 dice to see if I soak it. I can't roll my stamina, which is the typical stat you use to soak. And then, moving on from that, you have points you can put into backgrounds. Unlike D&D, you can have more than one background, and the backgrounds really are for like social connections. It can be how much money you have, if you have domain, if you have contacts or allies. your status within the Camarilla, if you're kind of high ranking or if you're just a low level neonate or a fledgling. And then there are your virtues. So your virtues are your conscience, your self-control, your courage. If your conscience is higher, you are more likely to feel guilty about things. If you have higher self-control, you're less likely to frenzy. If you have more courage, then yeah, you're more courageous. The virtues directly affect your humanity and your willpower. Your humanity is a completely different stat, basically telling the player how willing to do bad things your character is. So unlike D&D, where you declare yourself neutral evil or lawful good, your stance on things can fluctuate, just like in real life. Things happen that change people, and that can change how they feel about certain laws and rules and morals. And then your willpower is how, determined you are, if you have a strong backbone or if you're sort of weak-willed. And then you have your blood pool, and that's dependent upon the generation you are, because if you're a low generation, you're going to have a higher blood pool. If you're a higher generation, like generation 13, you're going to have a much lower blood pool, and that also determines how much blood you can spend per turn. Sorry about my sniffling, my allergies are acting up. And then on the third page, it has details about, expanded backgrounds is what it's called. So it tells you if you have allies, a mentor, contacts, resources, fame, retainers, herd, status, influence. And you might be asking how status and influence are different and how fame and all that is different, and that's all explained in the book. And then your possessions, which is going to generally be determined by your resources, which is how much money you make each month. You're not going to have a Corvette if you have 0 dots in resources, unless you stole the Corvette. And then you have your blood bonds little box, and that tells you if you have any bonds. And then havens, that tells you any safe places you're allowed to be and go. And then on the next page, there are merits and flaws. So after all of this, you choose your clan, you choose the disciplines and how many dots you want in them. You get to choose how strong you want to be, how smart you want to be, how charismatic you want to be, and then you get to specify that and say, I'm really smart with computers, I'm really capable of driving and shooting guns, I can craft and knit and paint and sing, I can tell great speeches and be a great leader, I can stealth and undo locks. And then choosing your backgrounds, which helps your skills and abilities. Then you also have merits and flaws. So your inherent merits and flaws. I don't know how else to describe it. So for Elizabeth, she had acute sight, which meant she just had really good vision. She has an eidetic memory, which lets her remember everything she sees or hears. Had an enchanting voice, which lowered her difficulty on charisma rolls to persuade people. And her flaws were she had horrible nightmares. She had a dulled bite. Her fangs were not very sharp. The reason I love this game, the point I'm trying to get at, you can get super specific. You are building a person that's going to live in a world, and anything you can think of, they probably have it covered on the character sheet. And then the last page, there is a paragraph-sized section about your prelude, so before the game starts, who your person was, how they became a vampire, and their description, their age, their date of birth, their date of death, what they look like. And then you have your coterie chart, so you can decide who your friends are, who your family is, all kinds of stuff. It can get really in-depth, and that's one of the reasons I love this game so much. You can do unbelievable stuff, and it really makes you, it just draws you into the role-playing. It makes you want to be this person and really portray them in an accurate manner. It's very political, it's very suspenseful, and it's a lot of fun. Especially if you're looking to run something long-term, this is a really good game. And you don't have to start your characters immediately after they were turned. Some people start their games centuries after the person has been turned and they're nearing elder age. So a side note, if you're gonna play this game, I mentioned in the very beginning that it's a storytelling game and it uses the traditionally called storyteller system. So unlike D&D, you're not going to be using D20s and D6s and D8s. You're only going to be using one type of dice, and that is a D10. So a D10 looks like this. I'll try to. And my dice are really cool because there's this clear one, and then it gradually gets more blue. And you're gonna wanna get about a set of 10 for them, or find a good dice rolling app. So I will leave a link in the description down below to where I got my set of dice. I believe I got them off Amazon. They're really pretty, especially if you're going to be playing a Ventrue, because they got that nice Ventrue blue color. So I am going to leave a link to those dice in the description below because I think they're absolutely gorgeous and everyone should have a set of dice that are as gorgeous as that. And then I am going to look for some links to ebooks so that you guys can see, because they have their books and then they have their clan books, which I can't see any of them right now. But like D&D, they have, they have their main book and then they have little side books that you can get to help you with the game and to help you with the clans even. I have read the Ventrue clan handbook and it is super cool. It gives you a lot of history of the clan and it goes more in depth about their values, and it also has some cool character builds in there that it suggests, so that do stray away from the stereotypes. So I will try to leave links to all of that in the description below. Also, something really, really amazing that happened. I finally published one of my collections. It is my first collection. It is a collection I started writing almost 6 years ago when I was in high school. So the poems are, reminiscent of that time period. I put all the poems into a collection in an ebook and I published it on Amazon. If I get enough sales and requests, I will make it available for paperback, but from what I understand, people are suggesting just see how it does in an ebook format before making it available for paperback, because paperback also requires me to reformat it to make sure that when they print, it prints well and beautiful. And yeah. In conclusion to everything, you should play Vampire the Masquerade if you are really into the role-playing side of tabletop RPGs. It allows for a lot of versatility and creativity, which is something I always love in games. I hate when I'm limited as a player. And in fact, this game has had so much of an impact on me and the people I play with's lives and our view of tabletop games that we have actually started creating our own game based on and inspired by Vampire the Masquerade. It's still very much in the development process, so that's all I can say, but in the next few months, hopefully we will be live streaming that game. But first, we have to finish New Orleans, and hopefully we can save the world. I will leave a link to my book down in the description below. It's free for people who have Kindle Unlimited. It's only $2.99 if you don't. You just need an app to read ebooks on, and that's it. You can get that on your phone, you can get that on your tablet, you can get that on your computer, I'm pretty sure. I will try to post another video when I get back from Colorado, but until then, I hope you all are having a wonderful holidays. I will see you all again in 2019. Hopefully it is a better year than 2018. Go check out my links in the description. If you liked my content, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm a very new YouTuber, still very much in the process of learning how to do things. So if you have any suggestions or comments or concerns, go ahead and just leave them down below. I just want you guys to know that everything you say in the comments means a lot to me, because it's feedback, and especially starting out, I really like to have feedback so I can know what I'm doing, so I can know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what people like to see, what they don't like to see. I really want to cater to my audience and put content out that people want to watch. I want to know what I can fix and what I can do better. So it would really mean a lot to me if you just took like 30 seconds to write something down in the comments about what you thought of the video, the quality and the editing, anything, literally anything. It would just help me a lot. If you like the video, of course, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more content. I am going to be doing more videos on Vampire the Masquerade in the future. I hope you all had wonderful holidays. I hope you all are traveling super safe, and I will see you all in 2019. Bye.